Who are some of the best Pacers to wear each jersey number? That's too specific. Let's draft the best Pacers to wear jerseys in a specific range of numbers. It sounds crazy, but it's a super fun exercise, especially in building the best team possible. And we're going to do it today on the Locked On Pacers podcast.
You are Locked On Pacers, your daily Indiana Pacers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy Wednesday, everybody, and welcome into another edition of the Locked On Pacers podcast, where we, of course, talk about the Indiana Pacers. As always, my name's Tony East. I cover the team for Forbes and SI, and today, let's get silly, let's get wild. It's the offseason. It's time for fun stuff, and the final player interview of the summer that was going to happen today ended up not happening. So we pivot hard, and Derek Kramer, a.k.a. iPacersblog, joined us for one of the most fun podcasts I think I've ever done. This became quite the topic. So how this is going to work is it's a draft of Pacers players, all of them, for all of time. We can only pick one player from each grouping of jersey numbers. So from 0 to 9, we can only pick one player. From 10 to 19, we can only pick one player, etc. And we're trying to field the best team possible with the jersey number limitations and some positional limitations. Super fun exercise. We ended up having really similar teams and very different strategies to end up with those teams. It's a lot more complicated to sort out what the order of players you should pick would be than you would think. But I think we did a great job and super entertaining back and forth. I hope you guys enjoy. Derek Kramer from iPacersblog and I's Pacers player number draft. A last-second pivot of content, and it's time for something very fun and an idea that I am totally stealing. It's the jersey number draft, making the best lineup of Pacers players possible, picking one player in each group of 10 numberings throughout the history of the franchise. Shout out to the great people over at the Buzzbeat Pod who cover the Hornets. Richie Randall got this idea in my head, and joining me to compete in this illustrious competition that we decided to do earlier today, it's Derek Kramer, friend of the pod at iPacersblog, the publisher of iPacersblog itself. Derek, this was a lot harder than I thought.
I put more work into this than I did any of my fantasy drafts. So. And I didn't even have that much time to prep, so...
Yeah, I had to hard pivot out of a different thing that was going to happen today for scheduling reasons. Derek is the best for being available, and I thought about this a lot too. My notes are nuts at the the Fever game. I was just going through the Basketball Reference all numbers thing that they have for Pacers uniforms, trying to get my strategy sorted. So how we're going to do this is we'll each pick one player from each group of numbers. So 00 through 9 is one group. 10 through 19 is the second group. 20 through 29 is the third group. 30 through 39 is the fourth group. And 40 plus is our fifth group. Then Derek's idea, we'll pick a sixth man, and that has to be someone who wore two different jersey numbers with the franchise. Jarris Walker is somehow eligible for that, Derek, funnily enough. And we'll do a snake draft. So first pick, then 2, 3 for the other person, and vice versa. And we did not predetermine the order because Derek wants to play rock, paper, scissors. We're not going to do that. We're going to flip a coin instead. I can send you a picture via text if you want to actually watch it, Derek. If not, I can do the Google-sponsored coin flip where tails looks like fire coming out of a chalice. I don't know what heads is because the tails one is up on my screen. What would you like to call it, heads or tails?
Oh, heads.
It is flipping. Oh, it is heads. Heads is a lady with a leaf in her hair. Okay. So if you want the first pick, you can have it.
Oh, man. Yeah, I'll take the first pick.
Okay.
It's hard.
It is.
Like we were talking before, I'm still not sure who I'm going to take.
I narrowed it down to 2 at least, so I know who I'm getting at 2, depending on who you take here.
Yeah. Well, I think I have to just go and get the best player in Pacers history and just not do anything funny with it. And you should be happy because you told me if I get the first pick, I'm not going to take him. So I will take Reggie Miller, number 31, with the first pick.
No controversy.
No controversy. I'm not getting tricky with it. There's a lot of depth in the 30s, though. So congratulations there for you for your free pick at some Hall of Famers and some other guys over here.
Yeah, the depth in the 30s is good, especially historically, like pre-MJ, making everybody wear 23 and 24 and all that. I was considering Reggie for one, certainly. And the thing about him and the guy I'm going to pick is that you could put them at several positions, especially considering the era of the number you pick for the guy I'm going to take. Because with one of his numbers, he was clearly the 2, and at the other one of his numbers, he was the 3, and Larry Bird was asking him to play the 4. I've already given away who it was. I'm taking. Oh, and actually, I think we need to clarify a rule here. Derek and I decided we don't have to specifically slot a player into the position until we're done making the team. So I'm going to pick Paul George, and specifically to make this easier on myself going forward, I'm going to pick Paul George number 13, not number 24, so I can keep my 20s range alive. I don't know what position.
Oh, I didn't know. I thought we didn't have to say what number.
Oh, okay. I'm not going to say what number. In that case,
I think that's
Paul
part
George,
of the
advantage.
advantage.
I will flex out what range he is in. I think that was an easy pick. Yeah. I actually probably would have picked him 1 if you gave me the chance.
I was close. Him and one other person I was between.
Okay,
his flexibility gives you so many options.
Yeah, it does, positionally and numerically. Funnily enough, it's him or Reggie is the best. Like Reggie is the best pacer ever career, like no doubt. I think Paul George probably had the highest peak of any pacer, though. Do you agree with that?
I think there's one guy who deserves some, at least to be in the conversation.
Oh,
here.
Well, but probably the guy I'm about to pick. In that case. My second pick will be my 0 to 9 pick for sure, because there's only one option here. Number 7, Jermaine O'Neal. Is that who you were going to include there?
Yes, that was where the 3 picks went as I expected to go. I mean, J.O., I think he was 3rd in MVP voting, so I think that's probably the highest peak for a Pacers season, although you could certainly make the case that Paul George may have been higher.
Yeah, he had the highest contract by a Pacer until, what is this, September 5th? 2 months and 4 days ago, so that longevity matters. He was an absolute beast on a team that could have won a championship before the brawl. Easy pick for me. I ranked him 3rd on my board no matter what the first 2 picks were. So glad I got the first 2. Feeling good about my start. Although knocking out the top 10 numbers kind of sucks, because I just eliminated quite a few guys who have no number versatility and are all really good.
Yes, I've already locked in my last pick.
Your last pick?
You took.
Oh, because I can't take anyone
from there? So I don't need to worry about those because you can't take them. So.
Well, I think I know who my last pick is going to be also, because you have taken your 30. See, this is what, like, when I
shouldn't have said that,
you
might have taken one of those 30s. I shouldn't have said that. No.
You took the 30. Oh, yeah, that's right. When I saw that BuzzFeed did this, I messaged Richie, one of the guys who did it, and I said, hey, this idea is awesome. Can I do it? He's like, well, first he jokingly said it'll cost me $10. But then he said, it's way harder than you think. And I was like, no way. I just have to list the numbers of the players. And then when I started, I was like, oh, yeah, this is a lot harder than I thought, because you can't strategize a draft, because then if someone gets picked in a number range or a position spot, you're screwed. And you can't do what I just did and reveal the order of the picks you're doing, because now he has an advantage for the rest of the draft for this very important and significant head-to-head team thing that we're doing. So this is important to I shouldn't have said that. You're right. But that said, there weren't that many. I don't know. I kind of have to do it in that order. We'll see what ends up happening here. But it was way harder than I thought, especially coming up with the grid of all the players. But as I just made a pick and PG didn't knock out anything for me. J.O. did. He only wore 7. So I can't pick anybody 0 to 9 now. That's a good group. Like, I just lost a lot of potentially good players. Hey guys, short little break so I can talk to you about FanDuel. We are so close to the beginning of the NFL, mere hours away. Now you can get ready for the season with incredible offers from FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, for example, new customers can hop on FanDuel and bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Plus, all customers who bet $5 will get $100 off NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. What a steal. Now is the best time to join FanDuel. The app is easy to use, and you can bet on everything from spreads to player props and more. So visit FanDuel.com/lockdown and kick off the NFL season with an offer you will not want to miss. That is FanDuel, an official partner of the NFL.
Yeah, and I think that's part of why Paul is really in the conversation for one, because he
Yes.
gives you so many options. And Reggie's, like we talked about the 30s, there's so many great players there that you have to pick from, and you don't have to worry about me taking any of those guys now. So yeah, I think the first 3 picks went as expected. Like, those guys should be on your NBA, Pacers, Mount Rushmore. And then this is where the draft gets interesting and hard. So I got 2 picks here.
Well, make it interesting. Pick 4.
All right, pick 4. Okay, I'm going to go with the ultimate versatility for this draft and go with the 2004 Defensive Player of the Year, Ron Artest.
Wow.
Meta Sandiford Artest, Meta World Peace. I had no idea. His name was the Panda's Friend
Yes.
for a little while.
Yes, it was.
I somehow missed that in 2014. I saw that on Basketball Reference today. I learned all kinds of things during doing research for this draft. But he is eligible in the teens, in the 20s, in the 40s and above. He can play shooting guard, small forward, power forward, and yes, he has an infamous history attached to him with the Pacers, but he also was an all-star, a Defensive Player of the Year, multiple-time all-defense guy. I think in 2023, if he was in his prime, I think he would have got a little bit more counseling and help that may have made his career go a little smoother during those rough years when he was going through a lot.
Yeah, in this specific draft, I thought he was going to be your 4th pick for the same reasons PG was valuable. He's in my grid in 3 spots. I have him as a shooting guard in the 20 to 29 group, and then a small forward for some reason. I don't know why. Mostly just because of some other guys I have here. A small forward in the 20 to 29 group, and he was 23. He also wore 15. And then, of course, everybody knows he wore 91, the highest number player who will certainly be drafted today. So he's all over the place. He's very valuable because of that. I don't even know where I can't type him anywhere for you. I could just type his name somewhere on your side as a player that you will have at some point as we slot them in. And again, part of the challenge of this is now I can't battleship you and snipe somebody.
Right. Yeah, because also the problem is I don't know where to go next because I have too many options.
Yes, that is hard.
Like, I knew I would probably go here, but then I was not sure what I was going to do after. So I'm going to look at my scribbles and figure out what I'm going to do. Tony might have to play the Jeopardy music when he edits this together.
Well, we can stall, or I could say that the hardest group of this to me to help you is the group that I don't think you'll end up putting Artest in, but maybe you will, is that 40-plus number group, because there's just not a lot of players, right? Like, some guys wore numbers in the 40s, but none of them were, like, amazing. And then they only had 1, 2, 3, I shouldn't do the math. Like, 15 guys wore number 50 or above, and only 3 players ever wore above 55, and that's Scott Pollard, Gogo Batadze, and Meta World Peace, a.k.a. Ron Artest. So that group is the most exclusive, and so having a really good player in it, because the pool is smaller, is really valuable, because my choice from there will be worse than yours by a decently significant margin, though not massive.
I don't know, because even if it's not Artest, I feel like a lot of those guys are similar and at the same level.
Interesting.
So at least a couple of them. I don't know.
Interesting.
Maybe in terms of fan votes, I feel like I could pander a little bit and go that way. Okay. All right. You didn't stall long enough. No, I'm sorry. I need a clock to force me to make a pick.
I don't have any more explanation of draft tactics I can throw at people.
Okay, so I got Reggie. I got Artest. So I need a big. Probably. So what's the best way I can go with this route?
There is a very valuable big by our exercise of multi-numbers here as well.
Yes, I am. He is definitely high in my considerations right now.
The problem is both of his numbers overlap with our test numbers. So
Yes, but it still gives me some wiggle.
It does.
Which is nice. Yes, the Dutchman, as what everybody knows we're talking about right
Yes.
now.
I guess I should just say names. It's not like I'm spoiling anything for you since you also looked at the same list. I don't want him to be like, who's he talking about? Like, that's not going to happen here. Yeah, Rick Smits was 45, which puts him in the 40-plus jersey number group, and at one point wore 24, which puts him in the 22-29 group. So 2 options also overlap with our test, but also our test could go in your 10 to 19 group, and you'd still have a 40-plus, depending on where you the strategy. Who you got?
Okay.
Pick 5.
I want to get weird because I can't decide on that spot yet. So I'm going to pick my 6th man now.
Wow.
Because I think there's one guy.
Crap, I know
which
exactly who you're picking too.
Our test could be that too. But I'm going to pick Roger Brown.
Yep. Dang it. Okay.
Hall of Famer. Because I did not know this until today. He came back after he left the Pacers for a few years and wore the number 1 for 10 games.
He did.
He was not very good in those 10 games, but he was very good when he wore number 35. And I'm going to use this loophole to add another Hall of Famer to my roster because he wore that number 1 for 10 games in like 1977.
Love a good
Roger
cheater.
Brown. What?
I said love a good cheater. Yes, he did.
All right.
Yes, he did. All ABA seasons for Roger Brown. Very close to the Pacers NBA era, but did not quite make it. 2 years off of their transition. But yes, the best 6th man left by a mile. In fact, there's only 2 decent ones left, and I presume one of them will go in a non-6th man role. I'm not going to pick him there. So that's going to be the toughest spot for me, certainly. And as I keep helping you with strategy by revealing what I am and am not going to do. Okay, so Derek currently, his first 3 picks were Reggie Miller, Ron Artest, and Roger Brown. And my first 2 were Paul George and J.O. Feeling good about my start. Not feeling so good about the situation I boxed myself into, especially because I have to pick somebody 40 through 49. And they're the toughest guys to squeeze into my team. But I'll just continue to go talent. I'm kind of running out of point guard options as I really dig through this. But I think my next pick and my 30 to 39 pick is going to be Danny Granger. I'm going to use number 33, Danny Granger. Yes, the bobblehead sitting behind Eric's head for my next decision. I don't think I really need to explain why I'm picking Danny Granger to anybody listening. He was really good for the Pacers. Was very, very close if his knee had lasted 1 year longer to being an integral part of a team that was very close to reaching the finals. And his trade was part of the dismantling of the, I don't know what the perfect word is, camaraderie of said teams. His talent and culture fit was huge and was pretty important in bridging the franchise from their darkest time out of their darkest time of being a fan favorite at the time. So his actual resume of all-star, etc. stuff isn't amazing, but he was a very, very good player who was important for the Pacers. And I feel very good about picking him for my 30 to 39 range.
Yes, great choice. A couple Hall of Famers that might have a quibble with your selection there.
Wow. That is a good group of numbers.
I mean, yeah, we got Mel Daniels, an ABA MVP. You got George McGinnis, an ABA MVP. Both led the team to multiple championships. But I can respect the Danny Granger pick. I love Danny Granger.
They are furious. They are definitely furious about this numerical draft. Okay, I think I have to do a kind of wild one here. I think. Hang on. I got to make sure I'm not cheating by doing so. I have to make sure I have all my numbers sorted appropriately. Okay. Yes, my 20 to 29 pick is going to go next because I need a point guard pretty badly, and I can't pick Tyrese Halliburton, and I'm not going to pick Vern Fleming. So I'm going to pick Mark Jackson with my next pick.
You mean your teens?
He's my teens, yes. And then that slots guaranteed Paul George into my 20s.
I thought you said 20s, so that was what I was like, there's a point guard in the 20s.
No,
I could not find him.
His name is next to the number 20 on my grid because of how I did it, but Mark Jackson wore number 13. He is my teens guy. So that actually slots in quite a bit of my team. Jermaine O'Neal is my 0 to 10 guy. Paul George is my 20 to 29 guy. Danny Granger is my 30 to 39 guy. Mark Jackson is my 10 to 19 guy. And then I have 4 players whose positions are somewhat obvious in terms of on the roster with a 6th man and a probable forward or big still to come. We'll see.
Yes, I very much considered taking Mark Jackson just to like screw you over a bit on the point guard position.
I would have had no choices.
Well, you would have had the only guys left in like the teens. Freddie Lewis, you can tell I love the ABA.
Yep.
Don Busey, nice defensive specialist you could have considered. Vern Fleming, as you mentioned, was another one. But yeah, not a lot. There's not a lot of point guards. Did you find any that were like numbers 20 and above?
No. Mark Jackson is the
like
last point guard I have in that column.
Yeah, nothing close. It was like, so I have to have somebody that's a point guard in one of those 2 spots. So very tricky. Okay, so I got 2 picks, and that fills out my team, or do I still have one left?
You'll have one more, right?
Okay, I have one more after this. Yeah. You're right. Because I picked my 6th man because I'm weird. All right. Okay, so I have Reggie. I have Ron Artest, Roger Brown coming off the bench. Right. I can save him for last still. I will go with. Okay, I'm going to go with Rick Smits, who we talked about. He's going to be my center.
That's bad news for me. That locks in that basically locks in my last 2 picks by default.
I don't know, because well, maybe it might, but I'm also might take the other guy that you're thinking about picking right now.
Okay, that would be brutal. Okay, Rick Smits, and do you have your flexibility with your numbers to pick Rick Smits number 24 or Rick Smits number 45?
I do, because Ron Artest can be 15.
That's right, Ron Artest can go anywhere.
So
this is brutal.
So I might be taking your other choice in the 40s, but there's still a nice other option.
There's 2 options in the 40s, so I'm okay with either of them.
There's a couple more.
I didn't think you were going to pick both because you can't actually. So I
can now though.
I feel okay. I don't feel great, but I feel okay.
Oh yeah, I can't pick both of the guys that are possible for you.
Yeah, they only are numbers in the 40s, which saved me here.
Okay. Oh man. I just realized, okay, I have a choice between my 20s and my 40s. Do I want to go? Oh, that is a hard choice. Okay, I'm going to go with my heart. Neither of these guys were Pacers for all that long, but one of them might be the best Pacers free agent ever, and one of them was a Rookie of the Year for the Pacers in the 80s. So I will go with, if I go with one, I could force your hand, but I think I got to go with my heart. Okay, I'm going to go with David West at the power forward in the 20s. So that locks in.
Yeah, you got to tell me what all that locks in for you. Okay, so David West is
it locks in a lot.
And then Ron Artest is your 10.
All I have left is a point guard, which you can probably guess who I'm taking.
Ron Artest is your 10s, right?
Yes, Ron Artest is my teens.
Okay.
When he wore number 15 when he first got traded here in Indiana. Reggie, of course, is my 30s. David West is my 20s. Rick Smits is my 40s. And Roger Brown is my more than one number 6th man.
Oof. This is very hard to keep up with. I underestimated how hard it would be to slot everybody into positions. Okay, and you just need a point guard. I think everybody can figure out who your last pick is going to be.
We've seen him recently.
Okay, that's tough. Yeah, my last 2 picks are, I think, fairly obvious given the way this has gone. I have the 40. Okay, I can actually just tell everybody what the thinking is now because there's no other spoilers. You have to pick a 00 player or a 0 through 9 player. Likely a point.
Yes, you have to pick Aaron Brooks. Aaron Brooks or
Derek's about to pick Benedict Mather as the point guard. So I had to pick a player who wore 40 plus, and I had to pick a 6-man who wore 2 different numbers. The 2-number crew is weak now. In fact, they're all gone except for one fan favorite. And then the 40 plus crew is down to 2 players I'm deciding between because I have J.O., who played the 4 at a time when that was fine, but would now be a 5. And the two players left in the 40-plus tier to me are Chuck Person and Roy Hibbert. So I could put Hibbert in there and put J.O. at the 4, or I could pick Chuck Person and have him at the 4 and then play J.O. at the 5. I don't actually know if one of those is better. I don't know. What would you do?
I mean, I'm not going to tell you who to pick, but I think both of those guys are good players, and I love both of them.
Yeah.
And I'll give you my opinion after you take one of them.
Look, I'll take the one who has a better resume and was more transformational to the NBA. I'm taking Roy Hibbert. Give me Roy Hibbert with my 40-plus number. Roy Hibbert wore 55. He will play the center. Him and J.O. will hold down the front line for me throughout the game. Hopefully, Halliburton cannot just shoot over the top of my team. And oh, you haven't picked him yet. Allegedly, Tyrese Halliburton can shoot over my team. And my sixth man is the only guy who had good seasons with the Pacers left who wore multiple numbers, and that is one Lance Stevenson, who wore number 6 after coming back to the franchise in the COVID year and wore number 1 the rest of his time with the Pacers. So my team is done now. My multi-numbered player is Lance Stevenson. My 0 through 10 players, J.O. My 10 through 19 players, Mark Jackson. My 20 through 29 players, PG. My 30 through 39 players, Danny Granger. And my 40-plus player is Roy Hibbert.
I just can't believe that you just pandered to the fan base by taking Lance.
Who else is there to pick?
There are so many. George Hill. Don Busey. Don Busey wore 2 numbers, an all-star. Freddie Lewis wore 2 numbers. Al Harrington. Okay, Al Harrington, maybe not. But I did take like all of the guys that were good.
You definitely
really
leaned
good.
more ABA than I did in this.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of those teams, though. They won championships, and got to give them some love. Man, that's going to get you some votes having Lance on your roster. I love Lance. That's just funny that Tony took him because he is not a big Lance.
Well, the list of 6-man candidates was Rick Smits, Lance, Meta, PG, and I forget the other one. Someone else who already has been picked. And they all got picked already. So it was Lance. He was the only one left.
Man, just can't even remember. No, I'm just not.
Well, not to spoil the rest of the draft, but Derek has 1 pick left. He needs
I have 1 pick left.
He needs a point guard who wears 0 through 9.
Yes, as soon as Tony took Jermaine O'Neal, I knew he was going to be my last pick because I didn't have to worry about Tony taking him. He's only been here for a year and a half, and he still might be the best point guard the Pacers have ever had. Tyrese Halliburton, throwing between the legs, alley-oops in the FIFA World Cup games. Franchise point guard. I think this pick will age very well. I agree. I agree. I actually he's good enough that I had to be like, should I pick J.O.? Which is kind of wild given how good Jermaine O'Neal was for the Pacers. But yeah, I picked J.O. It didn't feel that bad. Okay, my whole grid. I want to talk about a few guys we didn't pick just to close this out. Final teams. Derek's is Tyrese Halliburton, Reggie Miller, Ron Artest, David West, and Rick Smits. And my team is Mark Jackson, Paul George, Danny Granger, Jermaine O'Neal, and Roy Hibbert. Your 6th man is Roger Brown. Mine is Lance Stevenson. Surprisingly balanced teams in terms of quality. I'm not going to lie for an exercise like this. Okay, some guys I typed down that I'm surprised we didn't even say as we thought about this, but that is kind of part of how the numbers work. Jalen Rose at 5. He's the only other guy I considered.
Yeah,
at that point.
That's interesting. I have one more in that number range. Jalen Rose at 5 had no chance to me though, because at shooting guard, if I got desperate, like Tim Hardaway was there, Billy Knight, like I could have moved PG like I did. And the 0 through 9s, it was J.O. or Hallie to me. So Jalen Rose, very good. Didn't even merit any discussion. You didn't type Adrian Dantley down at all?
I mean, he wasn't good as a Pacer.
Oh, we're only considering that because that also I have Alex English typed down.
Yeah, I was not considering Alex English. Like, he was good before he got traded, but he also played here for a year, and then obviously Hall of Famer with the Nuggets. And then I did not consider Tim Hardaway. No, I remember watching him play for the Pacers. He had the ugliest jump shot I've ever seen when he played for the Pacers. Those were some rough watches at times.
So I'll probably get flamed for one thing, and that's picking Danny Granger over George McGinnis, I bet.
I don't know. I think people will like that. Everybody loves Danny Granger.
Yeah.
So
George McGinnis, we didn't talk about enough. And also in that tier of the 30 through 39s, I typed down Dale Davis, Mel Daniels, Antonio Davis, and Miles Turner, although I had basically no chance of picking any of them.
Yes, I had all those guys down. I just wrote down Davis Bros because I knew I wasn't going to take them, but I love them. I had Miles down as well. The rafters, all of those numbers up there are in that range, except for Slick Leonard's number for how many wins he got. But all the Pacers Hall of Famers are in the 30s. So
the final 4 guys I have typed that we have not mentioned at all, scattered across various numbers. Actually, 3 of them are in the same group. Is Billy Knight, who wore 25. Chris Mullen, I can't believe we didn't bring him up at all, although his numbering group is hard, who wore 17. Peja Stojakovic, who wore 16, and Domantas Sabonis, who wore 11. Those were the final names I had written down. But again, they're like Sabonis is in a group with Mark Jackson, Paul George, Ron Artest. Like, given the way this draft had to go, especially the point guards, that was tough. In fact, Peja and Chris Mullen were also within that group. And the Billy Knights group had Paul George and Rick Smits and David West. And for me, it would have been Alex English. So good players, good numbers, did not make the cut because of how this exercise works.
I think one other guy throws Thad Young some love. He made my list in the 20s. Gotta love Thad Young.
I did think about including Thaddeus Young.
But it was just like I wrote down Derek McKee. No, I have no, like, there's no way I was going to take him.
I did write down Derek McKee. I didn't say that. Who wore 9
Yeah,
for those of
that was
you.
just like, I had Victor Oladipo down, but like all these single numbers, like with point guard so limited, with like you can only take a point guard in the single digits or in the teens. There was just no room for any other positions from 0 to 9. So, like you said, it was either J.O. or Tyrese. It had to be one of those guys.
That did make it a lot tougher that the grid was limiting. My grid looks just like a bunch of chaos. So I had a lot more depth at small forward than I thought, but that's because I had Dantley in there and you didn't. I had Alex English in there and you didn't. So in the end, that didn't.
You had Mullen. I didn't like Mullen had a couple good years, but since he was older, I didn't consider him or Peja.
So what we learned from this exercise that was done entirely for fun in the dead of the offseason of the NBA is the Pacers need to add some players who wear numbers bigger than 40.
Oh, I just realized Jeff Teague, number 44. He's the only point guard that like doesn't. I just hit me.
That could have even been in that group.
One guy. He only played for 1 year for the Pacers, but only the only guy you could if you're drafting for podcasts. Jeff Teague, number 1 former Pacer, is who I'm taking. Is Jeff Teague.
Jeff Teague was good that year, man.
That's another good draft idea because Paul George is great on podcasts too. So.
Yeah, the ex-Pacers media list is getting good. It's not fair that these NBA players are both NBA players and better at talking about basketball than me. This isn't fair.
I mean, they know a lot about basketball. They do. Good at that.
They do. Not every
but Jeff Teague's
like podcasting, but a lot of them are. And I'm like, come on, man.
They're so good.
Share the talent.
Jeff Teague's just like a master storyteller.
Yeah.
You gotta respect
that. The one
when
he did the Jimmy Butler practice story, oh my gosh, I was gripped all the way through. What was the other one he did that I loved? I can't remember. He did a second one that I thought was amazing. Yeah, his is really good. I just listened to Patrick Beverley's podcast for the first time. I was like, wow, he's good at this. Like, how'd they all get so good at this? Shout out to the Buzzbeat guys for the idea. Go check out their show for more on the Hornets. Later this week, we will be finishing up the series of how the new guys can help the Pacers, because I'll finally have my Obi Toppin story done. And then another one on Pacers that could win awards, which ones they could be in the mix for, with one of the Paceroos guys. I won't spoil which one, but get your Aussie on later this week. Derek, thank you for the time in this painfully challenging somehow exercise. Where can people find you and your work covering the Indiana Pacers?
Yes, you can find me on Twitter because I'll never call it the other thing. At iPacersblog, iPacers.com. It's been kind of a downtime. I kind of take these couple months off before the season really gets rolling. But then you'll see content from me there soon.
Next week, we'll get going on season preview stuff generally and specifically with players, so looking forward to that. A lot of fun stuff coming here on Locked On Pacers. We have made it through a lot of the dead time. The season is closed. I saw all 3 of Benedict Mather and Andrew Nembhard and Bruce Brown today, all in town. Lots of guys truly are in town. Probably one more break for some players before the season, but then it's time. Camp's closer than you think. Media Day's in less than a month. So lots of fun stuff coming. Hope you guys enjoyed today's show. See you soon.